How about Matt Rhule on Jim Rome's show talking about Dylan Raiola? Get us up to speed on that.
Okay. I thought the most interesting part of that segment was Rhule talking about Dylan and saying he could have transferred. You know, he could have taken an NIL deal elsewhere.
Miami, Auburn, A&M.
Those were
the three that were speculated.
Miami, Auburn, A&M. So what Matt said, he said he could have taken. Now, I want you to parse this. He said he could have taken the easy way out. He could have gone to a place, this is quoting Matt, where he doesn't have to do as much himself. I almost think I need to address this in a column. I mean, first of all, I hope people understand that Dylan has options, that he would be a very good quarterback in a lot of places, right? Am I wrong?
No question. I mean, yeah, he's a 5-star.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sean, you know what people fire back at me? SIP. His numbers weren't that great. I'm like, okay, yeah, his numbers weren't that great. I get that. His numbers down the stretch weren't that great. Yeah, it's a lot of projection, but that's what we do with athletes. We project. Why am I getting angry? I don't know. But because I think Dylan, what I hope people understand is there are a lot of programs, good ones that would take Dylan in a second.
Yeah, they didn't have a great identity developed on offense yet. And now they're going to have that with Dana Holgorsen. You have a legitimate quarterback gunslinger head offensive coordinator now that's going to put a system in that he has a proven track record of producing points and yards.
I just think it'll look good, and I believe in Dylan's talent. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm projecting. I get it. Not totally projecting though. I mean, we saw a lot of good last year from Dylan, and I thought he closed the season well at Boston College. He was very much in command, and you're not going to have an opportunity always to have a kid that looks like that. A kid who's going to have a very good chance, correct me if I'm wrong, to be a first rounder.
He could be up there.
Yeah.
I think the key for Dylan is when he gets rid of the ball quickly, that's when good things happen. But when he holds the ball, that's where things don't always happen for him. Or when Dana was here, he started him getting rid of the ball a lot quicker.
No doubt about that.
And I thought that's when the offense looked its best again, when the reads were quick.
Okay, I'll grant you that. They got to put more around him. Now, I think they have. I think they have. And so Dana Holgorsen coupled with Dane Key and Isaiah Hunter, Ja'Cory Barney, I'm going to say Harburg, then with a protection and maybe even a running game. God, they love Emmett Johnson. I mean, they just love him. If they have the kind of running game that they expect to have, this should all look very good. And I think Dylan with what should be around him will look good. What Nebraska should be able to offer him a lot around him. Now I want to see it.
All right, let's keep.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's all there, and
I would think so.
Yeah, he a guy like him would always, if he ever entered the portal, which he'd be a top target in the whole country.
Oh yeah, regardless of position,
because people are smart enough to know what the picture could be.
Right.
If they do it correctly.
Right.
Odds and ends, playoff expansion. We're still really nowhere near a decision on 5+11 or automatic qualifiers, whether we go from 12 to 14 or 16. There's a lot of unknown uncertainties there. Now the latest discussion is figuring out a correct strength of schedule model for the committee to look at.
How do you do that, Sean?
So we'll see where that goes, but it doesn't, 2026, we may not get an expanded playoff. Like we might still keep it at 12.
You don't think they can get it solved by the December 1 deadline?
It's going to be close, because if they can't get off, if that automatic qualifier versus 5+11 debate continues, the SEC and the Big Ten decide this. Well, they both could have their own thoughts on that, and they may not get it figured out.
We'll see what that formula looks like. The big story brewing is Texas State going to the Pac-12.
Yeah, the Pac-12 needed an 8th football member in order to be a part of the FBS. So why is that important? Because as part of the FBS, you are now part of the playoff structure. And the top rank FBS team, not in the, Power 5, Power 4 conferences, would get a spot in the playoffs.
Right.
And I think for the FBS of this, or for the Pac-12, they're probably that league. You have Tulane and Memphis and some other teams in the AAC.
Right.
You have the MAC. But the Pac-12 is Washington State. It's Oregon State. It's Boise State. It's San Diego State.
It's Colorado State.
It's
Fresno State. It's Utah State.
It's probably the best collection today of the non-Power 4 leagues.
Yeah.
And UNLV, I think, would like to be in the Pac-12, but the politics of the state system there won't allow the breakup because they don't want Nevada to be on their own.
That story that came out that UNLV didn't have the funds to guarantee Mullen
$100,000.
The back end of his contract. Like
he got $6,000 or $5,000, and he was promised $100,000.
I just can't take him seriously. So yeah, so people just to review, and Sean, I just think a lot of people don't. There's so much going on in college football. There's so much change. The Pac-12 as it stands: Oregon State, Washington State, previous members, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State,
Gonzaga, and Gonzaga is a basketball member.
Non-football. So you're, like you said, they need an eighth, and that could be Texas State, which I would think Texas State is thrilled.
And I don't know, like Tulane and Memphis might have been in the discussion, but the travel probably just didn't make sense.
Well, I think Memphis needed $22 million. They needed to come. I know this because I read it. Memphis needed $22.5 million to join, and they can't come up with that. The Pac-12 offered help in the form of $2.5 million, but you're still $20 million short. Now, you said there's a FedEx guy. Sean, that's a lot of money. $20 million.
Well, the owner of FedEx,
can he write a $20 million check?
He owns FedEx.
I guess the question is, do you want to do that?
He is single-handed. Like, if Memphis they almost got in the Big 12. And he made a promise that he would be the title sponsor of the Big 12 title game and provide all this money. I mean, they have the money with him, but it has to make sense. Going to the Pac-12 doesn't do anything more for them.
Not really, does it?
I mean, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul at that point. And it's not the Big 12. I mean, you think about the last line of realignment, Central Florida getting the invite to the Big 12 over, say, University of South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That was a major upset because 10 years before that, USF with Jim Leavitt, they were probably considered the better brand, but Central Florida had overtaken them. They got the invite to the Big 12, and it changed their university forever.
It did. And it was an upset. Still feels kind of like one.
And I was reading Mike Bianchi of the Orlando Sentinel this weekend, and they're in a really good position at UCF with their rev share because the new money they're getting is such an influx of cash. They've never spent it yet. So they are positioned to use the new flow of money coming in straight for rev share, where other universities have already baked in the additional monies where, they're spending all the money already. So to come up with 20.5, it's hard. Well, now UCF's getting new money they weren't getting the year before, and they're just going to use that money for rev share.
Well, Frost should have some speed on that.
Yeah, UCF's in a good position in the Big 12. The Texas Tech is probably the team I'd put my money on long term in the Big 12 with what they have behind them.
Think about what you're saying. Isn't that amazing?
I mean, Texas Tech basically just has like an oil rig on their campus right now. And it spits out money,
right,
and pays softball players.
Let's face it, Frost, first of all, is lucky that he has another head coaching job at a powerful school. Now it looks like he's going to have some money to pay players, and I always go back to what he told me when he was at Central Florida about the ability to recruit speed there. And one of his hesitations to jump out of there was, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the speed I need. His big quote to me was simple. I can just roll out of bed, go get a receiver. I mean, yes, you can do that.
But the physicality that you need with the speed in the Big Ten is different.
It's not, doesn't fit Frost. And you know what, Sean? It took him too long to realize that. It did. It took him 3 years.
Oh, they went about 0 for 12 on wide receiver recruiting.
It took him 3 years to understand. I don't mind saying that. Frosty, if he's listening, wouldn't like it, but he stood up at the Big Ten media days, like between year 3 and 4, and basically admitted it. Like, we just didn't adjust quickly enough. You didn't adjust quickly enough. Wow. I mean, you didn't know. And so he completely went back on his original statement of, we got to make the Big Ten adjust to us. I wrote a column about it. It was memorable. I remember sitting there thinking, wow.
But then he adjusted his style to be more possession Big Ten oriented. I'll never forget when they go to Norman, Oklahoma, and they play Lincoln Riley, who was in the peak of kind of his Big 12 offensive run. They made that like an 8 possession. Remember how
it looked pretty good.
I mean, the first quarter or the first half, there was like only 4 possessions per team.
2021.
Yeah.
And it looked pretty good.
And it was a low scoring game where, it was like 7-minute drives.
But I'd say it looked pretty good.
Right. And they came out with like Teddy Prohaska playing tight end.
Right.
I mean, it's like,
dude. And I was like, Nebraska's going toe to toe with Oklahoma right now. And
Gabe Irvin's probably still running if he doesn't blow his knee out on that run.
Yeah.
I mean, so that, he adjusted, but like you said, it was too late.
Too late.
They just weren't equipped. And
nope. Too late. How can it be too late?
But they're going to have the full rev share, which in Orlando.
Oh, come on. Come on now.
Now, Pac-12, to put it in perspective, a Pac-12 TV deal is like $10 million.
$10 million. That's what those teams are going to get.
And a Big Ten team's going to get like 75 this year.
It's another world they're in over there. But at least they have a conference. And that's good for college football.